are trying to understand what we should do in this forum. While we wait for another 1 or 2 minutes, given your own discerning understanding of policy, of various sets of things that are happening across the country, where do you think this forum should be positioning itself? What is the value it should offer?
Um, I think a little more visibility for the forum in the sense of the people that we have on it. Like there's yourself, there's Upender ji, there's Niranjan. There are all kinds of people who've been working on water and from
Mm.
different perspectives and very
Mm.
scientific minds. So it's not like, just a bunch, it's not it's another talking shop.
Mm.
So for people to understand that it's a serious forum, people who,
Mm.
professionals who devoted their lives to different aspects of water, maybe that needs to come out more strongly. And you can that should come out in policy making circles. It should come out in industry circles. So, like you have ASHRAE, for instance, which is an industry body. I'm not saying
Mm.
that this becomes an industry body, but people start coming to WOW or want to join WOW and learn about what current thinking on water is. So why should they do that? Because the kind of people you have on WOW are the types who can actually contribute to collective knowledge, collective wisdom, if you want to use, on water. And people can do Q&A. I mean, people do Q&A and all of that. So problem solving, experience sharing, all of that. And raising your own level of awareness. That is important. But it will be clear. It should be clear that WOW is not for promoting your brand or for fundraising or for all those kind of things. It's for knowledge sharing among people who know the topic, who are passionate about it. So maybe pushing that, you have multiple channels to do that.
Yeah, manage that so far. That is, people do not promote their own service or product. There is Niranjan.
Yes.
You took his name and he's here. Good evening, Niranjan. So the other is this, Nitya. The thing is that people have understood, that this is not a forum to be used for some business and networking and all those horrible things, right? But beyond that, the one, for example, I don't know if you've read some of the recent messages last 3 4 days. One
Yeah.
constant berate, I won't even say complaint, a berate from our Rahulji is, hey, you guys, what are you talking here? Why are you doing commerce? You guys have to understand the very basics, of the science and the significance of water. Why are you all not getting there? Why are you only talking money and economics and all that? See, I don't know if I'm expressing it clearly enough, but while he says that, you ask any of the others here, for instance, Mr. Narayan Reddy, who is here. I don't know what he will have to say when you complete the presentation today. He's from Hyderabad. He runs some 3 MLD of process for RO, high levels of TDS. He's doing something complicated. And what he says is, look, I will live with what is existing as technology.
Hmm.
I'm not going to question anything. If something else comes up, and he's very discerning, and if I think that it's something that I can utilize it for whatever I have as purpose,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. Ravalji says, how can you take such a position? You cannot do anything further unless or until you have understood what this whole process of wastewater management is about. So we have this. I mean, it's a very healthy conflict, I will say, but it's there. I just thought I'll sort of express that.
I think
Professor,
arguments are
yes,
very good as long as they stay civil and both sides can have their say, understand the other side. It's
right,
perfectly good, perfectly okay.
perfect. There we go. We have Apurva Shah also joining. Apurva is from Ahmedabad.
Ah, yes.
He's also been playing a reasonably significant role in industry, trying to persuade a few people to do it the way he does. One person who has understood how Ravalji's science and application can converge with engineering. He's an engineer, Apurva. You know,
Yes.
wow, he really has understood it extremely well. I mean, it's a great blessing for someone like Dr. Raval to have an Apurva like that. I will put it like that. I am trying to learn in some whatever ways what each of them are. And I come from a very different discipline. And Rahulji gets upset. Ye kya we say? Everybody can learn. Science is so simple, he will say. You ask Niranjan. Niranjan will put down everything. He will come back next morning. He'll call me for a minute's call, which will last 1 hour. And he will say, Dekho, listening to Rahulji is very good, but I don't understand a word of what he is speaking, he says. So we have these healthy kinds of positions of all of them are independent, fiercely independent minds. Like you said, they
Yeah,
all come from their own strong context. I won't claim any more
absolutely.
time. We already 8 minutes past, and we have got, I think the forum is here at about 20 people. Thank you, Nitya Jacob, once again for being here with us this evening. This, for the rest of you, this is the second time he is presenting. 20 years ago, in 2005 or so, he wrote a book called Jal Yatra. I did not know Nitya Jacob at the time, but one day I stumbled upon this book in a bookstore somewhere or in some place in a railway station, I think. I bought that book because it was on water and I found it to be fascinating. The other reason I bought that book was Jal Yatra was also the name of a program that Sunita was running from Down to Earth and Center for Science and Environment, where they would take people to various different locations, including in places like Gujarat, Vardha, and all that. And
Yeah.
that was also called Jal Yatra. Now, Nitya has had a very checkered, colorful career. He comes from a very deep understanding of policy, directions of another kind. He comes from the space where he sees the architecture of water very, very differently, of India, that is, and therefore is able to bring a certain kind of acumen to water that we can learn, all of us can learn from. And of course, his heart lies in the other India, the rural India, the Bharat, that is India, shall we say. And people like Chikanna, for instance, Nitya Jacob. Chikanna is a fantastic guy, engineer working in some place in Bangalore. While about 4.5 hours from here in Ballari district, he belongs to a certain village. And
Mm.
in the last 4 to 5 years, he has done some amazing work. He got professionals from Mairara to others on buns, just typical watershed work. He's very humble. He will not tell you so much about it, but he's still driving a few more things to see what he can do. So, my
Okay.
hope and aspiration and wish is that in today's session, in what you present, there will be things that they will learn. Some of them who are working in the voluntary sector, Ramanish definitely, in a way that they can take it to their own spheres of work. That's my hope. Over to you, Nitya. Thank you once again for being with us. The floor is yours for whatever time you want.
Oh, thank you, Hari. That was quite an introduction, something to live up to, I guess. So I just, to add to what you said, I've been working on drinking water and sanitation issues since about 2008, specifically, and looking at the bigger water picture, how to contextualize it. And I've always been fascinated by these large government programs. Since the 1950s, we've had programs by the government of India to provide drinking water and sanitation to everybody in the country. And the latest avatar since 2019 has been the Jal Jeevan Mission, which has subsumed a whole lot of other drinking water and sanitation missions under it. There's, of course, provision of tap water, there is sanitation, there is water quality, there is water for specific target groups. All those missions have been subsumed under the Jal Jeevan Mission, which is being run by the Government of India. So, just to, or in this presentation, and I'm sorry it's a presentation, it's not a extempore talk, but there are too many facts and figures for me to deal with. And then it's a government program, so one wants to be a little careful. Also use the data that is publicly available on the government website, which is still quite transparent and updated. So it was to look at how the Jal Jeevan Mission is not simply an infrastructure program, but a social and a service delivery program. It's social in the sense that it's aimed at behavior change, and it's also service delivery, which is very crucial. But the core question that I am trying to look at in this is a little unsettling. That is, who has genuinely benefited from the mission and who remains excluded even after now this started in 2019, so that makes it 7 years. and its previous avatars, the Rajiv Gandhi National Rural Water Drinking Mission, and such like, who still remains excluded from all these missions and why? And then we move beyond aggregate coverage, which is the easy part of it, to say, okay, there's so many household tap connections provided and in so many districts, to look at how these connections work in terms of functionality, how reliable they are, what is the quality of water provided, and what is the equity angle to this. Equity in terms of access by different communities, geographically remote habitations, women-headed households, disabled-headed households, and so on. So, like I said, it's been implemented by the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Jal Shakti. It's a central government program. But in the states, it is implemented by counterpart ministries or departments, either the Public Health Engineering Department or the Rural Water Supply Department of the Rural Department, Panchayati Raj Department in different states. It's up to the state to decide which department is actually working on this. The central mission, the central plank of the mission, was to provide a functional household tap connection. That's a bit of a mouthful. An FHTC to every rural household. That is 19.35 crore households by 2024. So 2 years ago, it was supposed to have ended. Universal coverage. As a central government program, it aimed at universal coverage, which means everybody needs to get this FHTC. And why FHTC and why not a hand pump like in earlier programs? Because the Joint Monitoring Program, which is a WHO UNICEF initiative on which monitors global water and sanitation indicators, it says that household tap connections are the safest source of drinking water. They're accessible on premises, they're available when needed, and they're free from contamination. Next, please.
Yeah.
So, the mission success is often quantified. It is equated with the number of connections that have been provided. But the household, from the household point of view, from a user point of view, they want to experience the service and not statistics. To explain that, is water available? Is water of adequate quantity and quality available when they want it? If not, then just having a connection is kind of meaningless. Service quality rests on 4 pillars: connection, quantity, quality, and regularity or predictability. And a failure of any one pillar means that the service breaks down. This distinction is crucial because many households, through various surveys conducted by the department, which are counted as covered, actually miss out on one service benchmark. So it might be that the quantity of water is not sufficient, the quality is not sufficient, or regularity is not sufficient. Next, please. Next, yeah. So the JMP and the ministry, they both had pretty similar data. 96% Indian households, rural households, had a basic source of drinking water, which means that they had access to drinking water from some source or the other. The department's dashboard said that between 2018 and now, this data is from March this year, 81.8% households have FHTC. So nearly all households have been provided with a household tap connection. Next, please. So this is a map of India, and it shows more graphically what has happened over the last 7 years. Significantly, you will note that the hill states, or those in the north, Himachal, Punjab, Haryana, those have got the highest coverage. In the northeast, some states have Telangana, Gujarat, and parts of Tamil Nadu have got very good coverage. The other states, UP, Maharashtra, parts of Madhya Pradesh, the northeast, they have got good coverage, 76 to 100%, but they still have a ways to go. The problem areas start in Rajasthan, and then there's a narrow belt which goes through the country and it goes into Jharkhand and West Bengal. So those are still challenging areas. But it's an extraordinary expansion of water coverage in a relatively short period. So, like I said, nearly all have FHTCs, a narrow belt across the center of India are lagging behind, and desert and coastal regions are also lagging behind. The map does not capture the problems in coastal regions where, due to salinity ingress and the seawater ingress. So I think that may be a bit of a concern in the data, but we can look at it separately. Next, please. So the department periodically conducted surveys on FHTCs, I think in 2020, 22, and 24. So I took data from the last one. It's definite. The survey defines its own functionality, means adequate quantity of water, 55 liters per capita per day, of potable quality that follows the BIS standards, 10,500, and supply at fixed hours. It does not say the supply every day. It says supply at fixed hours. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Now, the survey showed that 87% of the tap connections are working. 83% of the households are happy with the quantity of water supplied, and 80% get 55 LPCD as per the norms. Some states have aimed at higher supply levels, but it's not captured in the granularity of the data. In terms of quality of water, 92% are satisfied, but there is a bit of a catch there. Only 76% household samples passed quality tests. Now, the catch with the quality is that households typically think if water is clear and it doesn't smell and it doesn't have anything floating in it, it's safe to drink, which isn't necessarily the case. Now, 84% are satisfied with the pressure of water and frequency of supply. So whatever service level was promised to people, and that again varies from state to state, the households have been happy with that. Next, please. So who has gained? I think in the maps, you can have the macro picture, but 100% coverage where functionality, quality, access meet the service level benchmarks as per the Jal Jeevan Mission guidelines, there are 14 states and 15.8 crore households. So these are the states. I won't read out the names. But according to government data, they have 100% coverage and no household lacks for a tap connection. But there is some divergence in intra-state equity. So within those states also, some parts are better served than other parts. So the last survey also revealed that 73% people did not need the water. They felt that the water did not need any additional treatment. They could consume the water from the tap straight away. 71% had taps, and 87% of those said they closed the tap after use. So this had to do with water conservation. Storage and handling practices were poor and contaminate the water, which means that people store water in vessels and they dip their hand in the vessels when they take out the water. There's no tap, or the vessels are dirty, or there's some other sources of contamination. So part of the reason for providing them household tap connections is defeated here, because it's supposed to be free of contamination, but it's getting contaminated at the user level. Toilets are made close to water sources or taps, so there's a danger of cross-contamination. And then water pipelines run near or inside drains. And we've seen the sad effects of this in Indore and more recently in Goa when drinking water supply has been contaminated by sewage from because of this reason. Next, please. Now, there's a special category of districts. There are two special categories. There are districts affected by Japanese encephalitis and acute encephalitis syndrome, as per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, where the FHTC coverage is only 67%, regularity of water supply is 65%. So it's well below the national averages, but 80% meet quality parameters. So that is better than the national average. In aspirational districts, which is another definition by the government for districts which have various challenges in terms of development, again, FHTC coverage is below the national average at 77%, regularity is 74%, and only 77% get 55 LPCD of water, and 78% meet quality parameters. So there are still challenges in these two categories of districts. I think there's 60 districts which are JEE, AES affected and about 100 aspirational districts. So that's 160 odd districts in different states. They have challenges in water supply. Next, please. Now, the other generic reasons, which aren't specific to any particular characteristic in a district, for habitations of people not getting adequate water or not getting a tap connection, their households or habitations or villages may be remote. So it may not be physically feasible to lay pipelines to those habitations. Local water sources are not available or contaminated. And I was looking through the JJM guidelines. It does say that where the Central Groundwater Board has said that there is no groundwater challenge in a district, then groundwater may be used as a source. So, but where groundwater is not available, then the engineers have to actually hunt for a suitable source which will be able to yield enough water of the right quality. Marginalized communities may be underserved. So STs, SCs included, they may be also underserved here. Poor quality of implementation. And as the implementation is usually done by contractors, we know sometimes contractors cut corners and then the quality of work is poor. So there could be broken or leaking pipes, and then therefore the tail end may remain unserved. The O&M costs, typically, this was estimated by a Dutch-based research organization, for any water or sanitation project, is typically about 2.5 times the capital cost, the initial capital outlay, if you take it over the life cycle, which is about 20-25 years for the project. That's seldom budgeted for, both in terms of funds and human resources. And then, of course, there are source sustainability challenges that, owing to climate change or floods or droughts or any other reason, the source might dry up completely. Next, please. So, because of these and various other reasons, 13 states have low coverage and water supplies of inferior quality, and it's erratic, and there is poor maintenance. So these are the 13 states, and together they account for about, I'm not sure what the exact excluded population is, but they have not met the the service level benchmarks for Jal Jeevan Mission. Next, please. So water availability is frequently overestimated, and that's one of the reasons why these challenges exist. So the yield of a tube well may be estimated at X liters per minute, but it may actually be much less than that. Or that the groundwater availability has been overestimated or poorly estimated. Then there's weak enforcement. The Water Cess Act, which aims at curbing industrial pollution, is not implemented properly. So there is pollution from industrial sources. There's also a lot of pollution from municipal sources, from untreated sewage being discharged into reservoirs and contaminating water, both surface and groundwater. There are equity gaps. Women, marginalized groups, farmers still remain excluded from decision making. But they are also consumers, and then they bear the greatest brunt of any water scarcity. Next, please. Groundwater depletion. CGWB's data shows 63% of districts in the country are now threatened by falling groundwater tables. And then groundwater still remains the single biggest source of drinking water. So in addition to this, of course, there is contamination by both geogenic sources, fluoride and arsenic, as well as man-made sources, pollution due to sewage, industrial pollution, and other sources. As a result, 85% of water, both surface and groundwater, is unfit for human consumption unless it is treated. Operation and maintenance, I just spoke about it, but life cycle costs are 2.5 to 3 times that of the initial capital investment. And then, of course, there is the new bugbear, or everybody's bugbear, climate change. And we've been seeing very severe floods and then very severe droughts over the last few years. And then this has a direct impact on water quality and quantity. Next, please. So the health outcomes. Partial coverage in high disease districts is especially concerning, in that if you look at the JE and AES districts, that's one example. But there are a lot of other districts also where partial coverage has led to higher incidences of diarrhea, cholera, and other waterborne diseases. Unsafe storage and pipeline design negate water quality at source. So even if the water quality at source meets all the parameters, by the time it reaches the users, it isn't safe to drink. And by the time people actually consume it, because they have not stored and handled it well, it has become even more unsafe. Health outcomes are a lagging indicator of water system failure. So basically, the health outcomes of poorly designed or poorly executed drinking water schemes become evident after the scheme has been put into operation, and maybe a year or two down the line, in fact. So it becomes difficult to fix the scheme at that point because the capital outlay has already gone, the budgets have been spent. So what do you do then? Next, please. There are also gendered impacts, and then impacts on poverty and the time taken to collect and transport water. So while FHTCs were selected as in Jal Jeevan Mission because they reduced drudgery, but irregular supply pushes women, especially because they are the main water suppliers, water providers at home, they have to go back to other coping mechanisms, such as tube wells or open wells or rivers or canals or whatever is available. And then women absorb the cost if the system fails through spending extra time, through health costs, and as unpaid labor. Because obviously the time that they spent in collecting the water, transporting the water, they could have spent working, or they could have spent it in leisure or resting, but they don't have that anymore. They have to make sure that there's water in the household. Therefore, gender outcomes, if you want water supply to actually improve gender outcomes, be gender transformative, it depends on reliability and not just access, not just having the tap in your house. Next, please. So We've seen this earlier, but O&M is the silent Achilles heel of rural water schemes. And this has been the reality, I think, even going back 20 years when people were talking about putting in hand pumps, then the hand pumps would break down and then the repair and all of that would take forever. The same carries forward now into this uh, FHTC era. Panchayats are often handed assets without funds, skills, or accountability. So while they're supposed to be panchayat level organizations, like village water and sanitation committees, and then there's supposed to be technical, locally trained plumbers and all that available. Sometimes they just don't have the skills to deal with a large, complex pipe water supply scheme. And if they have the skills, they may not have the funds. So there are these connections which are still being made. They haven't quite been put in place. They're still falling in place. Yeah. Therefore, sustainability is not just a technical problem. It is also a financial and a governance problem. It's also a social problem here. Next, please. Now, decision making remains top down. So, this was supposed to be a demand driven scheme, but it's actually a target driven scheme. So, depending on the number of households that lack a tap connection, they need to be given taps over a period of 5 years, and therefore a quota is made and that has to be filled every year. Maintenance, however, is local. So that is devolved to the panchayats and the local governor, local body. Marginalized groups are rarely represented in water communities. So even if there are water pani committees or VWSCs, village water sanitation committees, I have seen that marginalized groups either form very small percentage of the uh, committee, or they're not there at all. And then without local ownership, systems degrade very quickly. So it could be the junior engineer who is responsible, but someone has to hold him accountable. And unless the local government body, the panchayat, has the skills to do so, they're unable to do that, and then the system falls apart. Next, please. So climate stress, which is something that has not been adequately built into JJM. It's there, but it's not being adequately addressed in terms of design or in terms of funds. Climate variability is structural. Single source systems are risky, and we're seeing that these systems are more prone to fault and breakdown. And JJM must shift from simply coverage expansion to resilience planning, to climate resilience, that is source sustainability, making sure that the pipelines and everything that are put in can withstand extreme weather events, floods, and droughts, and things like that. Next, please. So I was looking for possible solutions, and it's kind of hard to find these in one place. So this is a mishmash of solutions from different experts. Of course, the easier ones are build stronger institutions and river basin authorities, which river basin authorities India does not have any at the moment. It was part of the national water policy about 20 odd years ago, but they have not been put in place. There has to be legislation to protect groundwater. So the CGWB has rules and regulations, but I don't think there's a single legislation that actually protects groundwater as a resource, like forests, for instance. There are laws which protects forests. Rethink water economics, both for pricing for water supply and for pollution control. And I think you mentioned Sunita. She's been a great proponent of using economics to drive water conservation, drive water quality, to make sure that people pay for discharging untreated wastewater. But again, that is something that's also work in progress. I think it's very patchy across the country. Build climate resilience into water supply schemes. So we just spoke about that. Harness technology, and now that everybody's talking about AI, And before that, they were talking about Internet of Things. And we claim to have so many technical minds in this country. How can we use AI to improve water supply, both in terms of quantity and quality and access? Empower communities and civil society so that they can hold the service providers to account. And then we desperately need a new national water policy. It's been in the works for a while, but it's still not seen the light of day. Next, please. So just a little bit on AI, and here are some thoughts that I found. There are more thoughts than actually things that people have done. AI can help to detect and prevent leaks. It can help to optimize distribution by predicting demand patterns, monitoring water quality in real time, and issuing alerts on contamination. Provide predictive analytics for drought resilience and irrigation planning, and also predict the impact of extreme climate events on water resources. So some things that I think AI can and should be asked to do, tasked to do, in fact. Next, please. So I think just to leave you with a few questions, just to conclude, sorry. So JJM by and large has succeeded as a mission if you look at coverage, but there are still second generation, third generation issues which such as quality, equity, governance, and resilience that JGM still has to deal with and address. The real question is not how many taps were installed, but how many lives are sustainably improved. And if you look at the mission document, it says improving the quality of rural lives. So the questions and surveys need to actually address this issue. And finally, I think to conclude and maybe throw the floor open, in addition to whatever questions you have, here are some talking points. Can technology provide answers for sustainable, accessible, and adequate drinking water? And not just AI. I mean, we have a whole host of other tools. We have Google Earth and other kinds of spatial planning tools available. So mixed with AI, can that kind of technology provide these answers? What technical and behavioral aspects need to change? And these are two separate parts of the question. Are existing programs and policies good enough? And I think I would like to elaborate on that to say that does it make sense to subsume everything into one omnibus mission? Or were we better off having smaller components? Or do they need fine-tuning to ensure last-mile connectivity? So I'll end there. Thank you, everybody. And I think I've gone on for a very long time. But we still have time for Q&A. So please.
Perfect. You have taken 28 minutes. Very efficient, I must say. Let me first start with Rahulji. I'm sure he will throw some perspectives which will trigger thoughts in other people's minds. Rahulji, over to you first.
Thank you, Nithya ji. Lovely to learn something from you. I am not a believer of government schemes or claims somehow. But if 55 LPCD is for a villager, why 250 LPCD for a city dweller? Number one. Number two, liter per minute at a service point has been defined. But if we talk about the safe drinking water, it should be public health per gallon or per kiloliter. Water and tap is not a physical entity when we consider it as a life supporting liquid. All the more a reason where it is a parameter for public health.
Sure.
So I'm honestly more confused as I read or see more of the government claims. And I have been always telling Hariji, data work chodiye, because no data is written honestly. I prepare a data to impress you or to impress my funders. So, if there is a mechanism to independently evaluate the claims made by anybody, to learn, not to question anybody, but to improve upon. That's it. Thank you, sir.
But
August, yes.
this 55 LPCD is a bit of a mystery. And even I haven't been able to, why 55 for people in villages and why 250 or whatever for people in cities. I don't get it because, okay, if you look at WHO or UNICEF and all these wonderful bodies, they have given a breakdown, so many liters for this purpose, so many liters for that purpose. But again, on what basis? Frankly, I don't understand this. So, I mean, I'm with you on that. But and water is ultimately for health. And everywhere I worked, I've said that safe drinking water at the simplest level is water that does not make you sick. So that is how we should look at it. If you drink that water and you fall sick, you get diarrhea or you go blind or whatever it is, or there's stagnant water around your house and you get malaria, then it's not safe water. So to say that it must have this TDS and this fecal coliform and all, that becomes all technical mumbo jumbo. Nobody understands it. If I can drink that water and not fall sick, then it's safe water. Maybe my immunity is better than someone else's, but whatever. It should be at the least, I should not fall sick from that water. And why 55 LPCD? I mean, this would be probably a question too.
No, sir. Eco village norms recommend 60 LPCD with breakup.
Right.
Acha. 85% of the groundwater not healthy or safe. Then why include that water supply into the overall picture of water supply in the nation? 85% groundwater is not fit as per the data you presented.
Yes.
So maybe connecting dots will help us to really serve the purpose. It can be hardly 30% success, 40%. I'm not asking for 95%. Anyway, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Gopal Dalmia, yes.
Uh, this is an opportunity to ask Nityaji, who has worked in the water supply in systems. We know that water that is supplied in the cities, because I live in a town, large town, most of it is used for non-drinking purpose.
Yeah.
And the quality of water that is supplied is fit for drinking. So we are spending much more for unnecessary high quality water, which is misused or abused. And a slightly lower quality water, say treated sewage or treated grey water, that can easily supplement the other uses of flushing and so on. That is one policy thing that occurs to me, which should have happened when you are doing on a national scale. Because the drinking water quantity required is little, and also for cooking, etc. All water used, ingested, is of high quality requirement. For bathing, etc., there is the second quality requirement, which we can still say, okay, semi good quality. But after that, the quality required for washing the house or the laundry or the flushing, which is flushing is more than 50% of the water supplied to us in Pondicherry. So that is one policy matter which I would request you to, see possibilities. And can we have a double pipeline, coming to all houses instead of, finite quantity only for drinking?
Very valid points. In fact, Apurva, I remember telling me some maybe 2 years ago, Nitya, why are we accepting one water when there are so many varieties of water that we consume, right?
Yeah,
So in
of
some ways,
course.
our Gopal is also telling us. So see, if I take a house, I don't need more than 1% of my total water to be drinking grade water.
Yeah,
So why are we spending so much more money and then giving them the water for other things is the question. Very, very valid, pertinent question.
it
And
is.
I think though he didn't say it, he's sort of saying, I mean, if you have, if your voice is being heard in Jal Shakti or Mahua, this is common sense. They should be told to take this up. The other one is, I am asking you this question. See, the percentage of functional taps. See, 2, 3 times everywhere you kept saying functional. The question of functional taps is not to do with the tap, but it's to do with the source of water and the consistency of supply. What is the percentage of all these millions of taps that actually are getting water? Because at once you said in the same breath that there is no money for maintenance, which has been our story for 70 years in India.
Yes.
How do you answer that question, Nitya?
I think in terms of so I think the short answer to your question from government data, uh, there's no national level benchmark which says that the tap is always functional and then water is available when the person wants it every day. But the smaller surveys, and I think these surveys covered about 1 lakh or 1,50,000 households across the country, they said that 87% of the tap connections were working. Now, again, the rider is that on that particular day when the surveyor went, the tap may have been working. And people's recall is notoriously fickle. So they might say, okay, water, we have water today, but 2 days ago we didn't have water. So do you define that as a working tap? I would not. Because if you have a tap water connection, it should always have water whenever required or at specific times. So
Yeah.
everybody knows that from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. or whatever, you will get water. Then you can say that I have a functional tap connection. But memory is fickle. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, these surveys and the methodology did not quite address that issue.
Also, as you know, when you say, for example, 1 lakh as sample population, this 1 lakh would be out of how many millions total?
Yeah. Now,
How many
out of
million taps?
it's a countrywide survey, so you
Yeah.
can
No. So
you can
this
take
1 lakh is representative of say 80 million, 90 million. What is the total population, the universe of taps?
total universe of taps is about 20 crores. So
200 million. 200 million against which
200
you are saying, against which you are saying 0.1 million was the sample.
yes.
And
So
this sample would have been distributed, geographically across some multiple regions.
yes,
And it's so easy. If I am a government babu, I'm a very clever guy. Although, Ralji keeps saying, why are you blaming the government? My point is, these fellows will sit there and impute bias. So easy to do bias. I mean, I will
yes,
take, constituency of some 3 MLAs where it is working. So my sample, you know how it is working. So there is obviously a very severe challenge on this functional taps kind of situation on the
correct.
Har Ghar Nal, correct?
Yes.
Uh, the other is one observation I thought I'll make. No question here. This is about the new water policy. 2023, we had a policy. From 1983, we have had 5 such new water policies. And I've read that 2023 policy, and I believe it is a very good policy. If I'm working in the rural sector, people like Adrian Machado here are working,
Mm.
to the east of Mangalore, right, with a large farmer community. Now,
Okay.
for people like them, the National Water Policy 2023, I think, is a fantastic one. If only we know how to utilize it, you know what happens. Allocation they will make, and zero money will be spent. In the last 15 years, I've seen this for way too long. They'll
Yeah.
spend nothing. They'll make some grandiose allocations and, pompous statements and, at the budget levels. I thought I'll make this that the new water policy is good. I don't know why you said that we must have another one. I thought I'll listen to you on why you are recommending another national water policy. Okay, I'll stop there. I think Muralidharan wants to say something. Yes.
Okay.
Unless you
So,
want to respond. Nitya, you want to respond to that? Yes.
but I was just saying, it wasn't so much as saying we need another water policy. It was that we need this policy to be implemented. So, under the policy, what are the acts, rules, and whatever else goes with it? Those need to fall into place. So, just to say, yes, we have a policy that is excellent, and we have very good policies, we have very good mission documents and everything. But when it actually comes to the implementation on the ground, then we see this massive disconnect.
Always. Always. Murli, you wanted to say something. Namaskar to you.
Good evening. So
Good evening.
I am from Niti Aayog and I have joined just some 15-20 minutes back. I'm sorry for getting delayed. Normally I get the. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay. I just want to have 2-3 things from you. I am perhaps the lone voice here, so I have to say things which I think needs to be told. One is I really want to know from where you are getting this 85% of our groundwater as polluted. What is the source of this data? Is it a 2025 CWB data or is it some other data? One. Two is, first of all, there is no new water policy as of now. I think it is wrong to say that we have a new water policy. There are only 3 water policies in the country that were formulated. 1987 was the first policy, 2002 was the second policy, and 2012 was the third policy. And for all your kind information, the water policies are approved by the National Water Resources Council, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister, which all the chief ministers, lieutenant governors, and others are the members. So the last meeting of the National Water Resource Council was held on 10th December 2012. So we have not had a policy since 2012. What you are saying as a new water policy is basically a draft that was circulated by the Migisha committee that came in the news and all, that perhaps might have been put in for public this thing also.
You're right. You're
so
right.
it is not yet adopted. So please don't think there is a policy there actually. Someone spoke about.
We stand correct.
Okay. So Jacob sir spoke about the selection, and I think Mr. Harigaran also said about how these houses are selected. 2-3 MLAs constituencies you go. I think I would like to very humbly beg to differ, because this was a very rigorous process in which from the back end we have selected. We have a large. See, India has around 6.86 lakh villages, sir. We have around 2.58 lakh gram panchayats. So if you can get this data from the Gram Panchayat website of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, and all these villages have been selected through a rigorous scientific process. Sir, there were no, any selfish or sort of a interest involved in this. It was a very pure selection scientific process. Because I was part of the second survey, I left Jal Jeevan Mission in 2024. So I am since then with the Niti Aayog Water Resource Division. So I don't think there is any kind of wrong selection of sites or something like that.
Taken back, Muraliji, taken back.
Okay.
So
I do agree, sir, that there are a lot of issues, sir. I think good coverage points have been mentioned. We agree. I mean, I fully agree. Even in fact, at the highest levels also, you might have seen in the papers, especially in Indian Express, that a lot of churning happened. The recent approval of the Jal Jeevan Mission 2 last 10th of March, it was approved, sir, by the cabinet, and another 1.86 lakh crore is being pushed out. So, and this is going to be based on some 10 important memorandum of understanding conditions, ranging from water quality, optimum maintenance, operational maintenance, governance, etc., etc. See, the problem, in handing over what we have seen, I have traveled with very humbleness. I would like to say I have traveled around 400 districts of this country under the mission. And I would like to put it very politely, sir, that there is a large resistance from the ground level governance institutions also to take over. Because the funding that goes from the government to the individual panchayats, that ranges actually. It ranges from around 1 lakh to 6 lakhs, depending upon the size population of the panchayat. The 16th Finance Commission has now added another some few conditions, saying that you will have to get an incentive, you need to show some, recovery of taxes and other things and all. So there is an issue of allocation of funds. Even though there is a tied funds of around 50% now, earlier it used to be 60%, this finance commission has reduced it to 50%. So out of 50% of the funds allocated to the panchayat, 25 should go for water and 25 should go for sanitation purposes. And our understanding or our ground level situations indicate that there is a large reluctance on part of the panchayats to actually share this funds for Jal Jeevan Mission maintenance. And now there was a point, excellent point on this funds, functions, and functionaries point for the Jal Panchayats. So now the new Jal Jeevan Mission will hand over to the schemes to the panchayats if and only if the water goes to all the houses as claimed, and the quality is ensured. And for funds, obviously, we will have to understand that the government of India cannot give operation and maintenance funds. 2.5%, Mr. Jacob said about the O&M cost. Obviously, in a mission of 8.69 lakh crores, sir, 2.5% means it would be around 101.6. It's a huge 16,000-17,000 crores, which government of India at every year cannot keep on giving for operation and maintenance. It's obviously the work of the panchayats to whom the things have been devolved as per the 73rd Amendment. I do understand there are issues on that, but the government of India, in any way, it will be difficult for them to fund this operation and maintenance cost, though some incentives are being proposed through the Finance Commission norms. There was also one point on 55 liters per capita per day, why it was adopted, what is this logic, when a government of, when the urban areas get 250, why 55 for this villages? So that is the point, sir. I would like to say that urban areas are designed for 135 as per the latest CPHEO norms of 2024 document published by them. So you can see that in the Housing Ministry's website. The 250 is generally seen in Delhi. The recent CAG observations on Delhi was 60 gallons per day. So gallons per day means multiplied by 4, and then you get this 250, sir. So it is not 250 liters,
we accept that.
135. In fact, we are pushing for reducing this demand management also. So that is also, but it will be very difficult to say that I am reducing your water supply in this country means you will have to leave the chair. So it's as simple as that. So everyone across the board, it is very difficult for them to accept the fact that reducing water supply would mean a difficult proposition for a decision. And then, sir, about dual piping, someone talked about why treated water is not being supplied.
Yeah.
Again, under Amrit, it is encouraged. The problem is that it is very difficult. We have a large coverage. The sewerage water supply gap in the urban areas, if I am not wrong, it is roughly around 150 years difference in terms of finances in 2012, and now it might have got reduced, let's say some 100 years or so, which means that to reach the current water supply levels of sewerage water supply levels, the sewerage investment has to increase such that it will take 100, if the current investments, it will take around 100 years to cover the entire area. So that's why the movement has happened towards the decentralized thing, fecal search management and all. But unfortunately, what is happening is most of the utilities in the urban areas are now giving everything 20,000 liters free. Take Delhi Jal Board gives 20,000 liters free. Chennai Water Supply and Sewerage Board gives charges 60 rupees for domestic per day, per month actually. So this sort of charging is never going to help any kind of investments actually, because perennially the state governments or the utilities are dependent on the state government budget even to give the power charges. There was a recent request by the Hyderabad Water Supply and Sewerage Board to the Hyderabad Telangana Electricity Authority, requesting them to treat the water supply services at par with the domestic, and requested them to reduce the domestic tariffs. But the Telangana Regulatory Commission has refused, saying that the least tariff that is being paid post domestic is by the Hyderabad Metro, which is 3.25 rupees per unit. So at the maximum, you can give that only. So even with that also, they get around 600 to 700 crores or something per annum for electricity purposes, which is far beyond their ability to pay. So they have been requesting the government for either subsidy or ask the government to pay direct subsidy to the Telangana Electricity Board. So these are the problems. I do agree that there are a lot of things that needs to be bridged, but this governance issue, as correctly pointed out by Mr. Jacob, these are really, because as finally it is a state subject. We need to clearly understand that the center does have a responsibility, but that is restricted only to some technical and financial guidance, which, if the Jal Jeevan had not been there, I mean, the coverage would have by this time, 5 years, 2019, it would have been hardly another some 4-5%. It would have been only in some, imagine minus Jal Jeevan Mission today. 2019 it started, 2026. The average coverage over 70 years was 17%. So today, if you have adopted the same percentage, you would have added only around, let us say, some 20 or 21% today. So perhaps the saturation impact that the government did was really good. But I do agree that there are sustainability issues. There are large, maintenance issues. I think the second guidelines, which is under preparation, would address these things. And I think the 50, again, LPCD 50, I'm coming back. It is a WHO norm. If you see the WHO document, it says the minimum for rural areas should be 50. So we have added 20% more than the thing. Because normally it is understood that the cattle and men would generally take bath in the ponds and other things there. And then the amount of water that is given through the tap, it's only for some restricted purposes. But in the urban areas, mostly in places like Delhi, where I live, or this thing, only source of water that comes inside your house is your CMWSSB. Though many urban units or the urban areas do have their own groundwater things also in that. And I can tell you one interesting thing also. In urban areas, we never account for water that is actually pumped from the ground for sewage treatment. This is one of the major observations that we made, and we have been urging all the states to account for this. What's happening, every groundwater extracting structure, it is taking away a lot of water from ground, and it is putting into the domestic, then it is coming out of the houses. So the officially set up sewage treatment plants are for 80% of the water that is officially supplied. So that doesn't solve your problem of pollution. It adds to that by adding the groundwater to the system again, which is not captured, and we have been pushing for this. Perhaps the Housing and Urban Development Ministry must be taking up this into consideration during this 16.6. I think. Sorry, I've taken a lot of time, but thanks for the opportunity.
No, perfectly. Very, very rich on insights. I'm sure Nitya is also happy. Nitya, you should respond.
Huh?
Well, I mean, I think Mr. Mulli's first observation about 85% being polluted, that's actually from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. It's an old statistic. I haven't been able to find anything new.
No, sir, it is not the case, sir. If you see, there are 73% of our blocks are considered as safe as per the CGWP. I would
No, it's not groundwater. It is the water pollution. That the 85% of the water available in the country cannot be consumed directly without further treatment. That was the statement.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So 73%, you're right about the number of safe blocks as per CGWB, but even within those safe blocks, you cannot consume the water directly. And from the other blocks, of course, there's a water quality, the water quantity issue. So that was the. I think about the governance issues and why panchayats don't want to take over these schemes. I think it was simply a function, maybe not simply is not the right word. It was a function of the cost and complexity of the schemes. That is what I remember when Jal Jeevan Mission was being rolled out in 2019, 2020, that panchayats were reluctant to take this because they did not understand how pipe water schemes are supposed to work. And I don't know if the situation has changed in the last 6-7 years, but if they're still reluctant, then maybe that's an area that DJWS should look at.
Sir, Murliji, all I was saying was before Ravaji comes in that although you took about 15 minutes, every point that you took up was very focused, and you had made, of course, some diligent notes I could see from the way you responded to those observations that other speakers had offered. And thank you, therefore, for offering insights that I think the group would have learned from. And I would say that, Ravalji, one thing I noticed every time we speak to a senior government official, there is a different way that the government thinks about it. I come from, the development sector or the private sector. The thinking is so different from how a government officer thinks. I can't really explain it, but it's the way he went about telling us many things. For example, sewage and how it will take 100 years, and therefore we have to look at localized solutions. They're a very wonderful way of looking at the strategic planning that we need for the next 10 years. I'm just taking one example from things that he stated. Ravalji, back to you. And before that, Murliji, I must tell you one more thing. There is a person here called Chikanna Gowda. He comes from a village about 20 kilometers from Ballari, in Ballari district.
Okay.
Of course, he was an engineer working in Bangalore.
Ji.
Now, in his village, right now, he is taking up that Jal Shakti Ministry's program for drinking water from the temple Kalyani. Now, what it means for him is, he says, we have 3,500 population in the village, apart from some livestock. For this population, I need only 10 LPCD, he says. You're all talking 50 to 55. Chikanna, do you want to explain that before I go to Raval, sir? Chikanna, yes.
Yes,
Please.
sir. Yeah, what we are considering currently is 10 LPD for only drinking and cooking purpose. For other utility, like normal bore water is supplied by the panchayat. And another important issue we are come across, like Jal Jeevan Mission, what we saw implemented in Ballari district. They are more interested in laying the pipe after year over year. Not much importance is given on the source identification and source water availability and source connection to this pipeline. In the sense, not only in Ballari, I seen a couple of panchayat in Bangalore South district also. Actually, the story is the same. Actually, means how to overcome this lacuna. That is one thing. And is there any way in which NGOs can involve to make this functioning more effective? That is one more question. In Bangalore South district, like maybe peri-urban, is there how the other schemes are like Jal Jeevan Mission, similar kind of? Is there any such scheme are available so that village panchayat in the peri-urban or maybe like some of the small apartment can avail this kind of scheme?
In your village, is JJM available as a scheme
yes,
for the village panchayat?
Yes, Jal Jeevan is available, but it is grossly ineffective, I am saying.
Why? Can you explain that? Because Mr. Muralidharan is from the Niti Ayog, right?
Yes, sir.
He might be able to either explain it to you or give you some whatever perspective on it. Please go ahead and explain. Very honestly, you must tell him what is wrong with it. Please.
Sir, that only I was indicating. They are more interested in terms of the work completion and subsequent making the payment to the vendor rather than the end-to-end solution. In the sense, when you say solution means like source assurance, source availability, treatment, and connecting with the pipeline network, and again storing in the OST and supplying that. They were more interested in the pipeline after year after year after year after. I seen this one issue in not only in Ballari district, multiple district in the Bangalore region also. This is the honest feedback, my observation.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I have to agree with Mr. Chikanna to some extent about the source, because if somebody would have seen the guidelines, it was clearly mentioned that the sources have to be selected through a very rigorous process, one involving community. Two, there should have been a source sustainability committee, which consists of people from public health engineering department or rural water supply, then the groundwater department of the particular thing, and a VWSC member, or the water resources member, and these people were supposed to be the ones who have to select. Now, many places, what we have seen is that the existing sources have been directly connected. As Mr. Gowda was saying, that they would have laid the pipe and the existing source they would have directly connected. And because the number of taps are more, and then they may be pumping more, and we will have to understand one thing. India has got around 20.2 million bore wells. This assessment was done some time back. This normally we don't have any data on number of bore wells in the country. It is normally through indirect ways like number of bore wells energized. That data which is available from the Central Electricity Authority, we take that. So there are, and wherever states I have visited, the ratio of the drinking water bore wells to the agricultural bore wells were varying from 4 to 80, or sometimes even at times it is 90. There are many villages in Karnataka. I visited Chikballapur, I visited rural Bangalore, and I visited one more area. And I have found that this number of bore wells for agriculture is very, very high. And unless and until that agricultural water supply is addressed, it is the elephant in the room. And without that, expecting a sustainability for drinking water source would be a very difficult proposition.
Murliji, you look at it like this. See, you are coming from government schemes and long distance options and so on. Nitya Jacob wrote a book some 20, 21 years ago, where he took the example of panchayats in Tamil Nadu and in many other regions, where in the panchayat there was always a member who was very, very intuitively powerful on the understanding of riparian rights, conventions inside his village. And you know how riparian rights are very, very, they are conventions, they are never written. The other was one of the things that he discovered during the time when he was traveling for that book. He found that this cannot work with schemes that are coming from some central level. If I'm in a panchayat, it has to be somebody from within the village who has traditional knowledge of the seed, of the soil, and of the sources of water in that village. This we lost. We collapsed. We decimated this architecture of water in India some 30, 40 years ago. Today, we all talk the way you are doing, Murliji. That is, we are saying we will get government to give this scheme and the other scheme. And you know what happens at the last mile with the tremendous abuse that happens with locally elected political leaders and so on. You and I don't have to, to explain that too much. So there is, therefore, this element of the local that Chikana is talking about. And you know what he has done, therefore? He has decided voluntarily, he does not get paid for doing it. He has decided that, okay, what schemes and whatever money I can get from these fellows, I will take. But he has no confidence in them. And therefore, this equation of source, storage, distribution, and disposal, he has taken it upon himself, called different agencies, found CSR monies, and decided to go with what he wants as the best of solutions for his village. Chikana, you want to add, I think. You have raised your hand. Yes, Chikana. Chikana, you have raised your hand.
Yes, sir. Actually, when you approach the various agency, right, like was CSR and other things, they say drinking water is a state subject. Okay, unless long-term
the concurrent subject. Yeah.
And they are also feel a little bit hesitate to unless the long-term maintenance and
I agree.
Local governance is in place. That again, panchayat has to own actually here. And again, at this moment, like panchayat is highly under trained, and also their priority is a little bit different. Mean to say, actually, they look for the different object to the scheme and other thing, right? You know how the other Manrega and other scheme now they work in the sense.
So we'll leave it.
My honest, honest advice is more capacity building of panchayat and this scheme is needed. Before rolling up, expanding, why? Because I see the reporting in the budget session that 15 lakh crore has been spent. They were functional tap connection. They are indicating never indicated how much percentage they're really getting the quality water. That is more has to be emphasized rather than functional tap connection. I will stop it here.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. And Adrian, you are working with 300, 400 farmers in Modubidri. here we have a person today from who has been with Niti Aayog earlier. Do you want to ask him anything or tell him anything from your village or the cluster of villages you are working with, Adrian?
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. So I asked that I was thought of asking, but Mr. Chicken has spoken 50% of me. Then I have a question regarding Nitya sir. Like, he said something lagging behind in coastal region. Something he mentioned. So I'm putting that. So we are now working with 1,200 farmers. We are doing the first phase of planning skills. So we want what is there in your village? Is there any lakes or how many borewells are
Yeah,
there? So from that we are getting like many ponds are not utilized or like because even develop this one, this could be a source. So we can connect because earlier days one pond is connected with another pond, so they are doing it. So we can
correct.
use that rather than piping everything. So we have stopping the river in the 15 kilometers back from the city and supply water from there. And again, this is happening, but the same river is coming from the guard itself, from the village itself. So we can stop somewhere. So better we have work with more check dams. So it is for the villagers also. So more because there is a many schemes from I'm finding that many schemes are there in Jalanayana, we call as some of the small water irrigation. So only the dams are built, but there are many components in that project are not implemented. So I'm finding it, but I can submit a report on that. So it is a very truth that many dams are not maintained at all. It is a
A-
good
A-
the main thing one. Thank you,
Adrian,
thank you,
from
thank you.
what you are doing with 1,200 farmers, if there is a person from the planning commission, nothing less, who is sitting here,
Yes, sir.
all right. Now
Yes,
you
yes.
heard him before.
Yeah,
From your point of view, from what you are doing for 1,200 farmers, what do you want to ask him?
yeah.
Sir, in my village, I don't have this. Can this happen? What are the, like that? Is there anything you want to ask him?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Since we have the privilege of having somebody today, I'm asking.
yes, yes, sir. Sir, please try to get fund for the panchayat to repair existing vented dams, small or more, and ponds. So it will be good for them to get a main source for agriculture and for the drinking purpose also. That is the main thing. We have that main source of water. So
Okay.
even
So
in the
we'll
many,
rephrase. Got
yeah.
it. Adrian has rephrased your question for Murliji. Murliji, I think I've understood. What he's saying is, are there any schemes at the district level or whatever devolved from either some union government, union ministry, which could help people like him who are enabling as many people, as many farmers?
Okay, so there are multiple schemes. Basically, you all are maybe aware about this integrated watershed management program. I'm not sure whether it is actually being implemented in his village or not. It works for this check dams, but he told about the operation and maintenance. See,
Mm.
most of the government of India schemes are basically for capital investment, and that
Mm.
too with a certain sharing pattern. And some of
Correct.
you might be aware that even under the Manrega or the GRAMG scheme right now, it's
Mm-hmm.
VB GRAMG
Whatever it's
scheme,
called
what is
now.
called.
Yes.
The earlier funding pattern has now been changed. Earlier, it used to be around 100 is to 0, that is 100 from center and 0 from the state. And now it has come to 60 is to 40, which means 100 rupees, 60 will be given by center and 40 will be given by the state. So, if the government of India makes around 1 lakh crore investment every year, the VBG Ramji, by the way, can be used for operation and maintenance through 40%. There is a combination of 40% material and 60% labor combinations are available under that. But the catch would be whether the state is willing to put that 60%, 40% or not. Suppose if I put, let's say, 1,000 crore is allotted, if government of India is going to give 600, whether 400 crores is going to come from Karnataka government or not, it's going to be the question that needs to be answered. And that it is quite difficult to answer at this juncture because just now only this year it has taken off. So the law has been changed. So this is the first year in which it will be operational like that. So we will have to wait and see. My gut feeling is that it would be quite difficult for many states to put this money, and perhaps the central government money funds, offtake of the central funds would be there only to those states which are willing to put that 40%. So perhaps some differences in the spending would happen, because the states which have got more money would be taking more, because ultimately the government of India has to spend by March. So they will say, okay, I will reallocate the money. This guy is not able to take so much money, so I am giving it to somebody who is spending. So this thing would primarily depend on that. The second thing about the operation and maintenance, yes, 25% of the tide grants available to the panchayats can be used for water conservation too, and that would be the source of income for the operation and maintenance. And if there is any tariffs for agricultural water supply imposed by the panchayat or for drinking water, perhaps that would be the other source. Other than these two, right now, I don't have any schemes at central or central level that would actually fund an ONDM.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes.
In fact, before I invite our Gopal Dalmia to speak, I must tell you all that Nithya is keeping quiet today, but he has written extensively about these structures that existed before, let us say, 1970. I mean, this whole process of of flattening the diversity of governance, panchayat governance, started about 1970 or 1980. Please, all of you, read Jal Yatra, as it is called. He writes in one place, and before Gopal Dalmia speaks, indulge me for 30 seconds only. These people, he's writing, this is Nithya Jacob writing, in 2004 or so. These people, usually men from the lowest caste, were given the responsibility and authority to maintain the village tanks. They had to ensure the tanks and the approach channels were cleaned before the rains, the bunds were strengthened, and the sluice gates were operational. During the rains, they had to patrol the bunds to check for weakness and for possible breaches that would flood the village. After the rains, they had to release water to the fields so that everybody would get his fair share for the crop. They also had to ensure that people did not pollute the water ponds by sitting or some releasing on whatever on the ponds. There's much more that he writes, but I'm saying to you that it is not like India did not have such governance. It will be useful for, Murliji, you come from, I'm sure you have some reach and influence within Niti Aayog with all the advisory support you're offering them, or have offered, as you said. There must be some way we can work with the government to make them understand that there has to be some devolution of autonomy and recognition of such collective intelligence of the community.
Yes. I mean, there is not an iota of difference of opinion here, sir. It's completely right. You are absolutely right on target. But we need to understand, sir, this hasn't happened over a period of, it hasn't happened overnight, sir. This was a strategy by Britishers. If you see, the first revenue, account for booking the agriculture or irrigation funds came from the Britishers in 1919, sir. So they started levying this thing in 1919. So what has happened was PWD departments were created, and these PW departments were actually the ones who have taken over all the ponds. Even today in southern India, 40 hectares or 100 acres used to be the norm. Whatever lakes that are having more than 40 hectares command are with the Public Works Department or Water Resource Department. Less than 40 hectares or 100 acres, because 1 hectare is roughly 2.47 acres. So 2.5. So less than 100 acres are left with the panchayats. Now, I do agree. My father used to say that people used to go for cleaning the canals, desilting and other things in his village.
Correct.
That's absolutely true, sir. But what has happened is you had collectors whose only job is to collect tax from the land. And that is possible if the Britishers can say, look, I have provided this canal to you, I have desilted this tank to you, so you have to pay. So slowly the community was purposefully removed from the overall maintenance, because water supply was never a government system except during 1914 when it came, and it was formalized by this 1935 Government of India Act that actually transferred this from the union to the state level, actually, which in the constitution we have taken it in toto. That means
I know. Sadly, we did not reverse the process. We should have gone back to what existed.
No. So this particular centralized running of the show at the central level was simply taken. The British model was simply taken and it is adopted. Now, post this Prime Minister's coming, you would have seen a lot of programs of this community involvement across all the water sector schemes, be it is an IWMP or micro irrigation or this Jal Jeevan Mission or Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana or 60% of the natural water resources thing. Plus, we have set up this national water mission and all. Slowly, the community is coming up now. Now, 100 years of alignment out of the system to say
Again,
that.
I will read only one paragraph from what Nithya Jacob wrote. Nithya, you have to pay me money for doing all this that I'm doing now.
Sure.
Look at this,
No,
Murliji, see what he is saying in the context of what he is. Sorry, Ravalji, just one more minute if you don't mind. I normally don't take so much time, but today you must forgive me on this. See, what he says is earlier, before 1900, where rulers built large water ponds and tanks, they laid the rule to look after the tank and share water. The rulers never assumed to maintain the tanks and the ponds, knowing it would be impossible to keep track of every structure they built. This day can today be Mahua, it can be Niti Ayog, it can be anything at the state level or the central level. Then he says they handed over maintenance to the zamindar or the village headman. In this case, it can be the panchayat. Of course, if the panchayat has such powers. Today we have vitiated the panchayat with political, dramas that we have done. Along with the charge, the ruler gave a gift of land, the revenue from which was paid for the maintenance. The land and the water paid for themselves, therefore. See, he's talking about, the western region, Kathiawad and beyond, Saurashtra and all that. So my point is this to you, Murliji, and to people like Chikanna or even Adrian. We have to find some other way of getting this maintenance. Despite the government, we must be able to, not because of the government. The government, you must think, cannot do things for us. And it's sad, but I have to state things like that. Because, like Chikanna said, what is Chikanna doing therefore? He's being polite. Murliji, he's being very polite. He's saying, अरे ये लोग कुछ देंगे पैसे लेंगे उसका भी क्या फर्क पड़ता है उसके बाद जो हमें करना है हम करेंगे खुद and we will take other funds for that. He in fact raises a lot of CSR money to do the fantastic work he has done in his village of about I think it's about 1200 hectares or so, his panchayat's lands. Over to you, Ravalji, and then after that, these two people wanted to speak. Chikanna and Adrian wanted to speak. Yes, Ravalji.
The discussions that followed confused me further. We have two eminent government officers, and I have a humble submission that allow me to talk to your departmental experts. I will come at my expense on behalf of I represent WO and tell you we have all gone wrong at multiple places. We put system before science. 1945, when we became independent, it was world population 1.5 billion. We are, as a country, 1.5 today. And still we want to hold on to the Britishers' values and all that. NBC was laid by 1972 and carried forward dictum. And Professor Devlalikar, in one of our sessions in 2006, admitted that the NBC was shoddily designed and he was one of the members on the panel. सवाल ये है कि if we read the Bangalore history, Bangalore was the Garden of Eden on this planet in 1890 at 56 liters per capita. And I don't think we have started consuming 5-10 times more water in drinking and cooking. We are pushing the poop with pristine water, and that is the engineering.
Correct. Murliji, I don't know what drove you to come to this meeting.
Please. One more point. Science. I am talking only science.
Please.
Tube well water systematically destroys irrigation and sewage treatment. If any day you have any time to understand the science, I am available through Ariji. Number 2, Surat Water Supply Department has 1200 MLD pumping volume, sir, per day. And the return volume should be 10, 12, 15% less than that in form of wastewater. Hariji, wastewater volume is 1450 mld. So that comes from the tube well. It destroys the industrial process also. We only know budget, implementation, money, profit, corruption. There is no water appearing in the dialogue. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Adrian, you speak first, then Chikanna, because you are all coming from the earth, from the ground. We want to listen to you. Both are young also. Yes, one of you, Chikanna or Adrian.
Yes, sir. I just posted that in the chat that we had a venture dam collaboration with the Gram Panchayat. So we, from our project, we funded 3 lakhs and one Panchayat also funded 3 lakhs. But to get the 3 lakhs from the Panchayat, it took around 1 year to our organization, but we are not smoothly, politely we took it. So because there are that winter dam is maintained by people now also, because we consider around 10 winter dams. So we are not asking to get funds or maintenance from the government. But thing is, because government are constructing winter dams with 7 vents, like 1.5 crores. We are not asking for that. We are asking only budget of 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. So our people will manage later, because they will get irrigation for 10 acres, 20 acres, 30 acres, and that one we are asking for that. And what is from past projects, the winter dams are built, they can be reconstructed. There is no chance of repairing it, because we are studying that, no chance of repairing it. But the same small winter dams can be helpful for the bigger dams which built by the government. So we are asking that only, not for the other thing. Other thing is for the pond. So we have public pond, like sir said, like Kalyanis and all. So same in our coastal, we have ponds like in the region of like dimmed forest or somewhere. But we can deal with the forest department for that. So some for the from the permission and all. So these are small, because people are ready to like ready to contribute. Like we had did project in Bantal on LC basis, local contribution and our contribution. So we can do. People are ready for that now, because water is the main source for the drinking and for the agriculture also. So people are ready to do that. So we have to just mobilize, and we have to communicate in the panchayat level. So we can do that with all ministry level, because people are now getting many of messages or through YouTube, or they're reading the government schemes and all. So we are also connecting. Recently, we have connected with the farmers around 14 lakhs there of schemes. They are mobilized through us. Not we are speaking. I'm speaking here only, not in our village. We are not speaking, because this is not worth that, because we are speaking. So I'm speaking here only. So this can be done by hand in hand. So this is my one request for our area, and our area is number one in our in the state for cultivation of paddy. So everyone is paddy. So this is the paddy is the main use, but for require more water. So the more water conservation also is there in this cultivation. So this is the one I'm talking about.
Nice. Chikanna, you want to say something? Keep in mind that you are
I
talking
think
to
Mr. Dalmia also wants to say something.
Yes, yes, he has been saying for a long time. So we'll turn to Mr. Dalmia first. He is always very sharp in his observations.
Thank you, gentlemen. I would like to share with you a case study.
Yeah.
This is a 70-year-old story in West Bengal, in the coalfield areas, in the Burdwan district, close to Raniganj, Jamuria. So there was a rice mill my father owned near Jamuria, which is about, I guess, some 20 kilometers from Raniganj and Asansol. There used to be 6 coal mines in that village. So what he observed was that there were only 1 or 2 taps for the village to use, and everybody used to fight at those taps, because the colliery used to send out some water which they had to pump out. So that was all that was available as water in that place. So he did not like, everybody of all types, rich and poor, come and fight for that water. So he arranged for a committee to be, a village panchayat to discuss about it. And they said that, okay, what can we do about it? So he said, I will fund the initial investment for the pipeline to be laid in the village, and everybody who likes to have a connection should pay a monthly fee for using the water.
Fantastic.
And then what he did was, everybody said okay, and he said the end, the last of that pipe should come to my rice mill for processing paddy. After the village is satisfied with their supply, then I also need water for processing paddy, so I will take the water from there. Now, this was arranged and put in sometime in 1955 from an abandoned shaft of a colliery. So, the quality of water is not known to me. I have drunk water from the supply as a child and as a teenager, even in my 20s, as in when I went to the rice mill. It used to be calcareous. I mean, coming from Calcutta, which had much better taste in water, the taste was distinctly hard. You could feel that there was calcium in the water. But that was all the water that was available. So nobody complained about the quality, except that the clarity was there and people would use it. What I'm trying to get to is the operation and management, because there would be electricity costs for pumping it from the colliery and any maintenance of pipe or tap, etc. There were no meters. People would get time 3 times a day. The water would be pumped by a operator, his salaries, and the mechanic who will look into it as and when, etc. So everybody paid a toll for the water, and it was a samiti. Samiti means a committee, so to say, a village committee, Jamuria Jal Seva Samiti. So there was one guy who would be accountant. He would collect the money from every house, and that fund was managing the operations and maintenance of that. And the last I have visited that place is about 20 years ago, and this thing was still running fine. So this is a case study that I have been observant. It was put in place before I was born, and it was still working when I got married, and I went there thereafter. So what I'm trying to say is that if we all depend only on the government to do the maintenance, it will not work. If everybody in the village has a ownership, that yes, I own this system, I'm going to make sure that it works, that commitment is required. You can ask the central government for some funds to, like a kitty, for example. As you said, the landlords or the kings of the former centuries used to allocate land as kitty. The revenue from that land, the temple or whoever will have that money available for this maintenance. But only depending on maintenance from the government, it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't filter down for years, but the maintenance cannot wait. It has to be done, and people need to go on. So I'm just sharing something. Perhaps the government's policy can be such that if there is a committee that is maintaining it, they are entitled to certain subsidy from the government of India, not only the state government 40%, which may not have come, but at least people who are using the water, if they are willing to put in, say, 20%, then the government would be willing to put the 80, because they themselves cannot sustain it fully.
It has to be driven with that gun at the head of funds, and how possibly that's one way of doing. If you do not form the Samiti for water, for example, you must read, again, I'm saying, you must read Nitya's book, because he is talking about how in every panchayat across the country, until not long ago, until 50, 70 years ago, always there was one person who, by his lineage of understanding water, would be a member in the panchayat. Where is that possible today, Murliji? I have to pay money to become a member of the panchayat. And you know the amount of profiteering and electioneering that goes around this whole process. So we lost it somewhere. Yes, Nikki, we have really, it's 100 plus minutes we have spent. And I think thanks to Murliji, I'll blame him for this. that conversation became very lively and interesting. Yes, Nikki, go on. Please tell us.
No. I just a small, little aside. I mean, Dalmiji was talking about individual action and things like that. So there's a very dear friend in Uttarakhand who's been a one sarpanch, the one panchayat sarpanch for many for at least about 2 decades.
Yes.
In early 2000, he had written a letter to the President of India saying this was when the first of the dams were coming up in that area of where he's coming from the Ramganga Valley. And he said, basically the letter, in the gist of the letter was, आपने बहुत विकास कर दिया हमारे लिए. Like, we are very very developed. Thank you so much for all that you have done in life. And now I would like to not I would like the government now to take their vikas and give it elsewhere where it is very needed. We don't need your vikas anymore. And I mean, you have given us enough vikas. Not we don't need your vikas anymore. You've given us enough development. So we are thankful for it. I mean,
but such letters will never. It won't impact anyway.
No,
I mean, rise out of pain. We understand that.
Yeah, and Dan Singh Rana also has been like a vociferous activist against such dams and things like that since it's come up. Now, in the last 25 years, in that entire area, what has happened is that the Ramganga Valley from the border of Tibet to say Joshimath is about 75 kilometers. Out of which, on this, there are about 9 run-of-the-river dams, which effectively means that there is no Ramganga flowing on the riverbed. It's all flowing into these tunnels and then coming back for power, etc., etc. While those villages, which Dan Singh Rana is from the same village where the Chipko movement started also, and so effectively the water is now run dry. What has happened, therefore, there is water. I mean, while the government will say there is water, these are all run-of-the-river projects, right? So you're not damming the river, but the riverbed is dry. So as a consequence of this, their farms have been affected very deeply. At 7,000 feet now, they're using bore wells because there is no river water that is running now. While policies on paper look great, how do you negotiate such kind of I mean, even if as a village they've come together, as a panchayats, as several one panchayats together, they've come together to say we don't want these dams, or we're trying to see if they can do other things to save water in these parts of the Himalayas. But after that can only work until a point when either they're left alone or the government doesn't interfere to such an extent where they're so as a
sure. No point
small
is
counterpoint to Almiyaji's.
Murliji, before I give the mic back to Nitya Jacob for his last comments, my request to you is that I will write to you and we will invite you to share your reflections from the context that you come from. In one of our sessions, we have similar sessions. Every Thursday we have at 6 p.m. We have done some 250 of them. As a matter of fact, this is the 250th session, 250 session. It just happened to be Nitya's. Nothing special about that part. Nitya, your last words on it. You have heard all of these people. It's been a very discerning set of views that have come from many people here today.
Yeah, I mean, thanks everybody. This has been a great session, and thanks Murliji. Your comments and inputs are wonderful. Just to say that, yes, I think Hari, like you said, the examples from Tamil Nadu, they're very rich, but it's the same case across the country. We always had local expertise, and somewhere we seem to have lost that. So maybe, if the Niti Aayog or the Ministry of Jal Shakti or some other government agency could take up a plan, or maybe the National Skill Development Corporation, to identify and bring out these people and train people in our, in the local milieu to use specifically for the operation and maintenance. What is it that they require in terms of training and other support? Instead of just saying the government must give funds for this, that, and the other thing, which we know the funds take a long time, and then there are different equations with funds. There is leakage and all of that. But there are other ways to deal with this complex operation and maintenance issue, and there are people available. So maybe some way of identifying them, bringing them up. We have technology, we have all kinds of resources, networks, and everything. Can't those be used to bring out bring out this kind of expertise? And it could be for drinking water, it could be for water for irrigation, it could be for any other kind of scheme or program as well. So yeah, I think I'll stop there. We have had a very interesting
to everybody, and particularly to Murliji, I must tell you this: when Nitya is speaking like this.
So one last point. I mean, just 30 seconds. It's very thanks for this opportunity for allowing me to join, and it's a great experience for me to learn also from the ground. No, the involvement of community. Just I want to conclude with a Sanskrit slok that talks about what is water and how it was handled in the earlier era. There is this provision of water to the community is considered as a spurta karma. Spurta karma means one that brings you blessings or punya, so that you earn that by doing this. There is a slok which says like this: Vapi kupa tatakati devata yadana dicha anna pradanaha aramaha spurtamit tabidiyate. Means Vapi means a small pond, Kupa means well, Tatakam means big lake, Adi means etc. So it is like this. Ponds, wells, lakes, etc. Devata Yadana Niche, matlab construction of a temple, Annapradanaha, giving money or giving, doing this free food. Aramaha means parks. So these are called Spurta Karmas that will earn you a lot of blessings for your this thing. So I'll again repeat: Vapi Kupa Tatakadi Devata Etanadicha Anna Kshetra Aramaha Anna Pradana Aramaha Spurtamit Tabidiyate. This is part of Manusmriti. If I say, people will question me on secularism, but this is what is said. So this was the thing that drove water in the previous era. The more we can bring this back, the more promising future we will have. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Very good last thoughts for us to sign off on. And we will invite you once again, Muraliji, to speak to this very distinguished audience. I'm regretting not asking Chikanna to speak. He had raised his hand earlier for quite some time. Chikanna, do you want to say now anything, or should we close now? What do you think?
Yes, sir. Maybe one thought.
Please.
This one, see, this integrated watershed management, right? It is a wonderful scheme. In the scheme, you can cover even water-related infrastructure creation. Let's say in the valley area, we can create a lake or maybe the tank to sustain the drinking water need of the villages. That also one of the component we need to force the NABARD to take up this one. Tank development is one of the major activity. When you do the tank, right, they can get the gravel, let them do the bunding from the gravel rather than doing trench cum bunding in the BC side. Okay, instead of promoting a decentralized bund formation, you promote the bund formation with the tank development, so that both objective, one side bund happens, other side tank development happens. And this is one suggestion we need to push to the NABARD. Other side, this one Jal Jeevan Mission, unless there is a source, a surface water assurance is there for that panchayat, there should not be sanctioned pipeline connection, other source should be policy toll gate review should be there. Unless they should not proceed. The panchayat is not should not allocate further money for the other activity. Then only the district administration, they're forced to make the source assurance first rather than dumping the pipeline and making the bill. This is one thing. Another one is technology, right? In Karnataka, NABARD and along with the university and other things, they have watershed excellence. They under the World Bank program, their Sujala scheme, it given enormous result actually. When it come to the watershed department, they take up the watershed scheme. They are miserably failed just for documentation purpose only, they were running the scheme, and the money is spent in that way, rather than creating assets and maybe many schemes like scheme in Karnataka, it has to be replicated in across the country and also other part of the Karnataka we are left with Sujala 3, sir. I'll stop it here.
Strong words from you, Chikana, but we accept that. Like Murliji said, it's always good to listen to people on ground. You and Adrian are doing really well. I know you're doing very good work. I've seen what you do. Others are not speaking today. Gopal Kamandar is very good. Murliji and Nitya, he's very, very sharp when he comes up with observations. Today, he's not able to speak. He's just recovering from something that happened some time ago. I will leave it here. Thank you so much for being with us, Nitya, today. And this meeting has been postponed and postponed. Finally, you made it happen today. Murliji will invite you to present the next time around. Today, you responded to what Nitya presented. We'll see how we take it forward. Lovely meeting you all. Thank you, Niranjan. I'm sure there is enough take for you. Niranjan, thank you.
Thank you, Hari. Yeah. Thank you, Hari.
Thank you. Thank you. Any thoughts from you? Any last thoughts? Nothing.
No, we can wind up.
Wind up. Okay. Thanks all. Thank you so much. Bye.